All right, I'm back again with another recent gaming. 6 games again, 5 that I've played recently, and then I'll end with something a bit more different, something special. I don't know if it's interesting to anyone, but it's something. Lots of lots of disappointments and bad games. Let's get into it. I'll start off with the best one of the bunch. So let's start off with the positives. I played through the Ninja Gaiden Ragebound 2D action game that was released a while ago. Now, this is the first 2D Ninja Gaiden game in a long time, like decades. And for disclosure, I've never played the original Ninja Gaiden games, like the NES games and whatever. I've never played any of those. So I'm only familiar with the 3D games and the PS3 versions of those only, like Ninja Gaiden Sigma and Sigma 2 and stuff like that. That's the Ninja Gaiden stuff that I know. So I went into this as a complete newbie when it comes to 2D Ninja Gaiden games, and I thought it was pretty damn good. It's by the studio who made Blasphemous. This is a very different style of game from Blasphemous. Blasphemous is a slow-paced, also a 2D action game, but very different in how it plays. This is like a fast-paced, frantic, arcadey experience. Now, this physical also has this small booklet. I flipped through this in the collection update video that I did, but I'll flip through it again. So, yeah, it's a Ninja Gaiden game. It's fast. It's fun. It has great movement. It has great combat. And one of the things that really impressed me about this is the movement system, especially. It feels incredibly fluid moving through the levels. It's also surprisingly long. It's not a arcade game length. It is longer than that. It took me around 10 to 12 hours to get the platinum trophy. And I did cheat getting the platinum trophy. More about that in a second. But yeah, it's really good. It moves great. There are a couple of bugs with the movement that kind of annoy me. For example, sometimes when you're jumping against a ledge, it just kind of won't allow you to get up. You kind of get stuck, like jumping against the ledge over and over again. Like small little things like this, but those are very specific complaints, and for the most part the movement is really accurate and like easy to control. Even when you're like jumping, like there are lots of movement mechanics in this game, like where you jump and you have to like do a timing based deflection to kind of jump from one spot to another. You can kind of like jump from on top of one enemy to another enemy and like keep moving in the air like that. And this sort of precision platforming. It gets pretty difficult in some of the challenges you have to do if you want to collect all of the collectibles. You have to do all kinds of crazy challenges inside the levels. But yeah, another thing that I really like about this game is the animation quality. It reminds me of something along the lines of a Metal Slug game, with how many details there are in the backgrounds and all kinds of little animations. It looks fantastic. It's one of the best looking pixel art games I've ever seen. It's really cool. The gameplay is also very varied because there are 2 playable characters, as you can see from the cover. There's your traditional like Ninja Gaiden muscular man with a samurai sword, but there's also this woman who has like a ranged attack, throwing ranged weapons and stuff like this. Both of them play well, and there are levels where you have to play as one and not the other, and then there are levels where you use both of those characters. And just a bunch of different ideas. There are, of course, like you have to have in an old school 2D side-scrolling game, you have to have these like special levels where you are riding a motorcycle and whatever, and those are surprisingly fun. I usually hate that type of like gimmick levels in games like this, but they were really well executed, I think. for the most part. And yeah, I really enjoyed Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Now, some of the negatives, I would have to say it gets kind of grindy at the end, because if you want the true ending, you have to play through the whole game again, like every level on the highest difficulty, if you want to unlock all of the trophies for the endings and stuff. And it's kind of obnoxious having to go through the whole game again. I've never liked that sort of challenges in games. Luckily, the game is very short, and you have a bunch of accessibility options that you can turn on. You can basically turn yourself invincible and just run through the levels, and that's exactly what I did, because I'm not going to play through the whole game again. Like I already spent like 8 to 9 hours playing through the game, collecting all the collectibles, and just enjoying my time. Like, I don't want to play through the whole game again. But I wanted to see the ending, and I wanted to see it for myself and not just watch it on YouTube. Also, I thought the ending, like the secret hidden ending, was kind of bad, because it's basically, and this is a small spoiler, but it's basically you having to go through a boss gauntlet at the end of the game. So you play through the game normally, and then there's a boss gauntlet where you have to do all, like a boss rush mode, where you have to do all of the bosses back to back on the hardest difficulty level. It's really annoying, and it's not worth it at all. So it kind of left me a sour taste in my mouth, but it's partly my problem, because I could have just skipped that. But I wanted the Platinum Trophy because I was so close to it anyway. It was doable with the accessibility options, so there you go. I think the game is just great. I don't really have many negatives for it at all, so I would give it like a solid 9 out of 10. Excellent game. I prefer Blasphemous over this, because I like the slow combat, the heavy feeling combat. I prefer that over this sort of arcadey, fast-paced ADHD action. But yeah. Also, another thing to say about Ninja Gaiden, some of the okay, let's give one more negative so I can justify giving it a 9 out of 10. Some of the boss fights are kind of boring and dull. It's mostly like big like monsters that are just standing there in one place, and then you have to learn the patterns and whatever. But some of the boss fights are really boring, and they are challenging, sure, but I don't know. Some of the bosses are great. I don't want to spoil any of them, but yeah. Also, the final boss fight, he had this kind of annoying gimmicks stuff, like different sections to the boss fight. Some of them are just boring gimmicks. But yeah. That's enough on Ninja Gaiden. Great game. You should definitely check it out. There's also, of course, Ninja Gaiden 4, which is the third-person action game reboot. I have to get that and play through it at some point, but I don't have the time currently for it. Or the energy, because it's probably going to be really difficult and annoying. All right, moving on to something that completely different. I went through the game Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. Also got the Platinum Trophy for this. It was really short. It only took a couple of hours to do it, but yeah. Thank God it was that short. So yeah, this is a notorious FMV game. It's probably best known from the Angry Video Game Nerd video from a long time ago at this point. And yeah, Limited Run Games got the rights to this game, and they made this definitive edition for it. It's terrible, but it's also really funny. So I did enjoy it. I'm glad to have this. It's often titled as a FMV game. It's not really an FMV game. It's mostly just still photographs and like voice acting on top of those photographs. The storyline is crazy. There's a guy and a girl, and they kind of fall in love, I guess. And there's this weird, creepy old guy. And the storyline doesn't make much sense. There's also a narrator who wears a chicken costume for some reason. It's just nonsense. Like this is like an anti-video game almost. It feels like a parody. It feels like a complete joke, but it kind of was, I guess, but not really, because they were kind of like they did put a lot of effort into the game, I guess, for having like multiple actors and actually like shooting the footage and everything. And I don't know. What's great about this really is not the game itself. It's all the documentary material, because there's a lot of interviews. Like they have this actress whose name I can't remember. They have her, for example, and for extensive interviews, like new interviews and stuff. And it's kind of hilarious how they do the extra material, because they've built this sort of a first-person labyrinth mini game into this release, where you have to like search the labyrinth, and there's this character from the game chasing you. You have to kind of shoot in first-person mode to make him go away. And all the like movie clips, the documentary clips and everything, they are hidden in a labyrinth. You have to find them, which was kind of annoying but also hilarious at the same time. And yeah, there's a bunch of people interviewed in these documentary short videos. There's people from Limited Run Games talking about like why they did this and what the game means to them, and like the technical side of how they actually like rebuilt the game and stuff like this, and how they like remastered the footage, because the footage, like original footage, is obviously really poor quality. So there's like an in-depth video on how on the technical side of rebuilding, like using AI assistance tools and everything to rebuild this game, the visuals of it and everything. It's interesting. And there's also Angry Video Game Nerd James Rolfe is in there talking about the legacy of his video on the game, and talking about the game, and just a bunch of people you would probably recognize if you follow this sort of like collector side of YouTube, and also this kind of like video game influencer side of YouTube. Yeah, the release is really good. I enjoyed playing. I didn't enjoy playing through the game because the game is awful. It's just a choose your own adventure story with still images, and it's really awful. Yeah, like in every possible way. It just doesn't make any sense. And there's a plumber, and he does wear a tie. So yeah, it's like an absurdist comedy piece. It's almost like postmodern art. Like an absurdist piece of postmodern art, like an anti-game. It's interesting. It's strange, but yeah, I would give it a 4 out of 10. If it didn't have, like, if it was just Plumbers Don't Wear Ties on a disc, I would like give it a 2 out of 10 because it's awful. But the documentary material, all the extra stuff, all the like small comedy bits, like even the menus are like a joke. Like the opening menu and everything, it's full of these little jokes and everything. It's really funny. So I'll give it a 4 out of 10. It's a good time if you're into bad games, and it's an interesting part of video game history as well. Right, next up, a game that I showed in a collection update just, was it last week? I'm recording these videos in advance, so I can't remember the order these are going to be uploaded, but it's probably last week I did the collection update for January. So I showed Once Upon a Katamari, which I also did play through, and it does not have a manual still, which annoys me. But yeah, Once Upon a Katamari, it's a reboot game, I guess. They did a bunch of the remasters for the original game, and then the second game, We Love Katamari, kind of to test the waters, I guess, how well this would sell. And I think they're like the reroll games are really good. And this is now a brand new game in a sense, I guess. It does have the same visual style, the same kind of humor, I guess, to an extent. They also reuse a lot of the assets from the early games. There are a bunch of like items and character models that are pretty much the same as they were in the original games, and a bunch of sound effects and everything, like the sounds that the cats make, like those always crack me up. Like the cats make these strange sounds when you roll them into the Katamari balls. But yeah, it's a Katamari game. You roll a ball. Your goal is to roll stuff into a ball and make it big. Sometimes you go fast, sometimes you go slow, sometimes there are special requirements like rolling up food or rolling up expensive items and whatever. But most of the time, you're just rolling stuff for the purpose of rolling stuff up into a ball. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think, what is the voice that the cats make? Because I would like to do it for you. It's like wow, 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 wow. That sort of sound. That's the sound that the cats make. It's from the old games, and there's just a bunch of these like tiny details. Like, is it like cheap recycling? Yes, but it's also kind of funny because like those are funny sound effects, and like how many times, like, why would they remodel like a coin when they already have that from their old games? Like, why would they like redo that? I don't really see the point. Some people have complained about how much recycling there is in this game from the old assets and stuff. I don't really care. The levels are new. There are a couple of levels from the old games that are kind of revisited, but for the most part, this is new stuff. And some of the levels are really fun, especially the ancient Greece level. And then a bunch of these like historical Japanese levels from different periods. Really fun stuff. Also like levels where you roll up gold in the Wild West and stuff like this. So there is this time travel thing going on in this game because the king again destroyed like stuff. And now you have to go back in time to fix everything and this sort of thing. So the storyline, it's like Katamari storyline. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't really matter at all either. But yeah, the main thing is the gameplay. Also, the dinosaur levels. Really cool stuff. I like the dinosaur levels a lot. But yeah. The negatives. The good parts are that it's again a Katamari game. It's a pretty fun Katamari game. You roll up stuff. It's good times, great visuals, fun level design. But the bad things. This is not the greatest Katamari game ever created, and there are some reasons for that. First of all, the ball is really slow. Like the movement in this game is surprisingly slow. Usually in Katamari games you are moving pretty quickly, but in this game it's slow. There is again like you can do this dash, so you can like do like little speed dash. In the old games you do this, and again in this game by wiggling the thumbsticks back and forth, which was really annoying. I never liked that because it kind of makes the controls a bit wonky, and you never kind of get to go exactly where you would like to go because you have to wiggle the sticks, and sometimes you accidentally move from left to right and stuff like that. I was really happy to see that in this game they added a button that you can press to do the dash, but that button doesn't do the proper dash. It's like a watered down version of it, and that doesn't make any sense. So you still have to wiggle the sticks back and forth to get the full power dash. But if you want to do like a tiny little dash, you can press button for that. That was a disappointment. But yeah, it's really slow and clunky. It's extremely easy to get stuck into like walls and items, especially if you try to roll up something too early because you're really small and you can't roll it up properly. It's really easy to get stuck into items. I had to restart levels multiple times because I got stuck in between items and stuff like that. So there are problems with the level design in this sense, and it's really annoying, the movement, because you bump into stuff constantly and you lose all of your momentum. It's much more hardcore than it was in the original games, where you could crash into stuff, but usually you would just bounce off things. But now you get stuck in them, you get stuck against them, and there's also sections where it doesn't make any sense where you get stuck because there's like a tiny item on the ground, like a plate or something, but you're too small to roll it up. And if you roll against it, you don't just kind of bump over it like you would in the old games or bounce from to the left or the right. You just get stuck against it. And you use a lot of time, and it's really frustrating. I think the movement in this game is some of the worst in the series for any of the Katamari games, unfortunately. Also, there are some sections of the game, some eras, because you do the time travel, that don't really even have that many levels. Some of like there you eventually get to modern times, like a modern city. There's only like 2 or 3 levels in that. And those are some of the worst levels in the game, especially the one where you have to roll up sweet things and everything is just sour. And there are like fake items, like it looks like you're rolling up a cake, so that's sweet. No, but it's a cake with wasabi on it, so it's bad. So it's just annoying. Some of these levels are really annoying. They also did, again, another new cows and bears level. I hate the cows and bears levels, where the level ends when you roll up a cow or a bear. So you have to avoid stuff to build up your Katamari and then roll up as big of a bear or as big of a cow. And these levels, it just sucks. I hate these cows and bears levels. They always do another one of these. So yeah, some of the levels are really bad as well. What else about Katamari? Not much, I guess. It's a Katamari game again. Some positives, some negatives. The negatives are maybe a bit more negative for me here than they were for many of the earlier games. But yeah, the movement is the killer here, because the movement should be fast and fluid, and you should be able to like move pretty freely around. But it's really annoying in this game. Like a Katamari game shouldn't be annoying. Another thing that's annoying just came to mind is the level select menu. It's incredibly annoying. Like in the old games, you would have this 2D plane that you moved around in. It was really easy to see all the new people who would give you missions and everything. You were kind of side-scrolling. But now it's 3D and there's really no point to it. And the camera is so closely zoomed in on your character that when you're moving in the level select screen, you can't really even see most of this, like the levels that are there for you to choose from. You have to just run around blindly because the camera is so close to you. It's really annoying. Yeah. But whatever, it's a Katamari game. I can't be too negative about stuff like this, because it's fun. It's great that they at least tried to make a new Katamari game, and I think they succeeded in doing something fun. I also really like the level where you are like digging a hole. There's a mole that needs a hole, so you're digging a mole hole. That's funny. Yeah. So there are sections of this game that's great. There are sections that are not so great. But in the end, it's just fine. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's pretty good. Now, the rest of the video is going to be extremely negative, I guess. I'm starting off with Valhalla, Cyberpunk Bartender Action. This is the Japanese physical for it. Now, this is a very highly regarded visual novel, I guess, in the West. It's by the people who made 2064 Read-Only Memories, which I haven't played yet. So yeah, Valhalla. It's a visual novel where you are working as a bartender and you talk to people and then you mix drinks. I think the best part of this game is the bartending simulation bit, where you have these different ingredients and you have to kind of go through this manual that has all these different recipes for these drinks. Are there recipes? I don't know. Like they tell you what kind of fluids you need to put into the mixer and how you like mix the drinks and stuff like that. That was really engaging and fun, and something that I haven't seen in a video game before, this sort of bartending simulator stuff. Very interesting. I enjoyed that. But then the visual novel parts, man, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. I guess one of the reasons why this game is so highly regarded is because it's an LGBT like LGBTQ plus whatever friendly game, I guess, and the internet culture surrounding that kind of like subculture, this sort of sexual minority subculture, they don't have that many video games to really rally around. So whenever a game like this, which like is interesting and like well made, comes out, they kind of like have to take it as this sort of great masterpiece, but it's not a masterpiece. I think the writing in this game is so bad. It's so bad. Some of the characters are kind of fun. So there are a bunch of regulars who come into the bar and you talk to them, and there are these kind of small storylines building throughout the game. One of the problems I have with the writing is that the storylines don't really go anywhere for the most part. Some of the characters just disappear, and you never really know what happened to them, which is fine, and it kind of fits. Like, why would they come to the bar and tell everything about their lives? But from the point of view of narrative storytelling, like having all of these like subplots that don't really go anywhere and these side character plots, it's really frustrating from the point of view of the player and the reader to not really know anything that is going on. There's also like big events that happen during the game. There are like emergencies. I'm not going to spoil anything about it, but there are like big emergencies, big news stories, and some of the characters you meet are involved in these like news stories, like breaking news, stuff like this. And you're constantly thinking that it would go somewhere, but it doesn't. And the main plot line that is in the game, which is your like character's storyline, because you broke up with a person and then you find out that something has happened to them and stuff like that. It's made into this really big thing, but it's not really interesting at all. I guess the main problem that I have with the main character and the storyline involving her is that it's so self-centered and kind of narcissistic, and really it has this American internet culture feel to it, where you are just whining about your personal problems publicly and making it into some really important, huge, massive, big deal, which it's not, unfortunately. Like, I really don't care about the main character's constant whining about this relationship that didn't end well. I just don't care about that at all. It's not interesting. It has not been written in an interesting way either. I guess the ending is pretty good. Like, the ending is the best part of it. Like that last conversation with an unnamed person who I'm not going to spoil. The last conversation is pretty interesting. And like the self-realization that the main character has and whatever. But it's just not that great. It's just not that great. And then you have the bunch of side characters, like, because this is an LGBTQ game, so pretty much everyone in a game is either gay, lesbian, or like something else. Like, there are sex androids and stuff like this, because it's a sci-fi game as well. One of the parts that I do enjoy about the game is that it's a cyberpunk game, and the cyberpunk aesthetic is really nice here. And the world that they've built around it is kind of interesting. It's pretty unique. There are like talking dogs in it and stuff like that. And like people with cat ears. And there's an sci-fi explanation for that sort of nanomachine thing going on. And it's pretty interesting. But they unfortunately don't really do much with the world. I wish they would do more with it. And there are like android pop stars and things like this, which is explored to an extent. But many of the side characters are so unbearable with their like constant talking about their sexual preferences, like explicit stuff, like the sex bots talking about orgies and like shoving things into their orifices. And it's so obnoxious. And it's one of the problems that I have with this kind of subculture, that they're trying to push this really, really annoying and kind of, I'm trying to dance around this topic not to piss off too many people, because I don't want to like use the harshest possible words that I could use, but it's really strange how many people in this subculture cannot understand how off-putting it is to listen to like talk about shoving dildos up your ass. Like that's not things that's a private thing. That's not something that you should like talk openly about with strangers. Let's just put it this way. Like, and playing this game, I feel like I'm an outsider. I'm a stranger. Like, I don't belong into this subculture. I don't know many people from this sort of subculture. I do know some people who are like homosexual and whatever, but they don't act like this. They don't act like they are just regular people. They don't act like these sort of activists, like subculture group people do, where you're just shoving it in other people's faces. This really obnoxious, like over the top, like sexual matters, like sexual subject matter. It's really annoying. And this game is so full of it. Like all of the characters are either gay or lesbian or like android sex robots, and they're just openly talking about this stuff like it's like regular everyday stuff. Well, I guess if it's normalized in this world, I don't want to live in that world because it's really annoying. Like I don't, I think pretty much all of the characters in this game are just annoying. And the writing is annoying. It's very American, very millennial American writing with this like annoying, like self-referential joking and stuff like this. So because this is a visual novel, it's a problem. It's a big problem that the writing is off-putting and annoying, and the characters are off-putting and annoying. And the game is also really long for a visual novel. There are 18 days in it. And it took me over 10 hours to beat it. So for a visual novel, like over 10 hours, that's pretty long. There are longer ones, like Clannad, for example, which I do own a copy of. I should play it, but haven't played that yet. But yeah, Valhalla, I kind of wish that I would have liked it more because I love cyberpunk. I love the cyberpunk aesthetic. The music is great in the game. The pixel art is great. It's really nice, and the character designs are pretty cool looking as well. But yeah, I just wish the writing wasn't as off-putting as it is. Yeah, I guess that's enough on Valhalla. It's a visual novel with some bartending mechanics. Like it's a pretty simple thing, but yeah, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10, like a low 6 out of 10. It's not the worst visual novel I've played, but it's certainly one of the biggest disappointments I've had in a long time. All right. I'll try to go through the last two games pretty quickly because my stomach is rumbling. I don't know if it catches on the microphone, but yeah. I'm really hungry. I'll go through Slitterhead next. So I played through Slitterhead. I started playing this game in June, I think, or July last year, and I never finished it, but now I finished it. It took me 2 days to do all the rest of the stuff. It's a horror game. It's by the director, I think, of Forbidden Siren, the original or the old school PS2 Forbidden Siren games, and you can clearly see that here. It's very much like a modern, like sci-fi. Forbidden Siren was almost like a folk horror game in many ways, and this is more like a futuristic, like a sci-fi type of deal, but it has many of the same ideas. Now, one thing that perplexes me about this game is that on Steam it has, or at least it used to have, I don't know if it's still currently accurate, but it used to have overwhelmingly positive reviews. I have absolutely no idea because I think the game is trash for the most part. It's really, really bad. I'm glad that I bought it now that I got it cheap. I have this limited edition for it that I showed in one of the collection updates. It does have one of the best things about this is that it has a physical soundtrack CD. One of the best parts about this game is that it has Akira Yamaoka's music in it, the composer of Silent Hill. It also has a bunch of other extras here. I'll quickly show these. Oh, yeah, I won't show the book because it has spoilers for the game, like the story of the game. So I won't show the art book. But yeah, I'm glad that I have this limited edition, because if I bought this after it goes out of print for really like expensive, for a lot of money, I'm trying to say, I would be pissed off because I think the game is awful. Now, why does the game suck? Well, the game sucks because it's a PS5 game and it looks like a PS3 era game or like an early PS4 game. It doesn't look good. That's also the case for many of these sort of like AA games, both from Japan, especially from Japan, like JRPGs that aren't like AAA quality. They often have this lower like graphical quality to them, which is fine. I don't really care about that. But in this game, it's pretty jarring how simple it looks. It's kind of funny, especially because there are multiple playable characters that you have to unlock throughout the game. And most of the character models are really low quality, but then there's like a character in a group of people, and then that one character has a lot of detail to them, so you immediately know that this is a playable character. So you see a group of people, and there's this one guy who has like flashy clothing and lots of detail in a facial animations and everything like that. The animations don't really have much detail, but you know what I mean, like lots of detail in a clothing and the hair and like the face and everything. You immediately know which characters are playable characters because of that. And the game looks bad. It has a really nice visual design to it. It has this dreamlike quality to it. And it's very unique when it comes to the visual side. That's one thing that I do appreciate about it. And the gameplay is atrocious, the combat. There is a lot of emphasis on combat. It's a 3D game. You are fighting against these sort of mutant human animal hybrid things. There is. I don't. Yeah, it's good that it's not shown here because I don't want to spoil them. The designs look pretty cool, but you fight against the same enemies like over and over and over again. There's only like 3 or 4 boss designs in the game that are like separate enough from one another to be counted as different things. There are some variations, smaller variations of the bosses, but for the most part you are fighting the same enemies over and over and over again. It's really clunky, it's really inaccurate, and the game has so many small design flaws, especially with the combat. So for example, you have all these kind of special attacks. Each character that you have, there are like, how many are there? Like 8 characters, 7 or 8 characters that you can use, that you unlock throughout the game. All of them have their special attacks and kind of strengths and weaknesses. But all of the special attacks use blood, which is also your health bar. And because of that, if you use the special attacks, you drain your health bar and you leave yourself open to getting like one shot by these boss monsters. So very early on in the game, I realized that if I want to use the special attacks, I just can't in many situations because I'm going to just die. And I have no idea why they tied the HP to this like special attack blood pool. It makes many of the special attacks almost unusable, especially early on in a game, before you upgrade your characters to like to get more of the blood pool and everything. It's almost like unusable. And because you can't use the special attacks, because if you die 3 times, you have to start from a checkpoint. The combat takes so long. You're just standing there blocking attacks and parrying attacks because there's a timing-based parry system in the game that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. You're just standing there holding the block button down, waiting for the enemy to do something, and then just, parrying the attacks. And doing that over and over and over again. It's really boring. It's really slow. The controls are off-putting, to say the least. There's lots of platforming in the game as well, in addition to the combat. Lots of exploration and platforming. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. The level design is not that great. It took me a long time to really get into the platforming. Sometimes I didn't even understand where I was supposed to be going and how to get there, because there's these specific points where you have to jump and other points where you can't jump. It's just annoying. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. It's so goddamn annoying playing this game. But I wish I would like it more, because it, like I said, it has a great soundtrack. It has an interesting visual style. Like, the soundtrack has music in it that I haven't heard in any other video game. In the menu, in between missions, there's this weird soundtrack where there's this sort of human sound snarling at you, doing this like sound over and over again, and it's odd. It creates this really weird atmosphere for the game, combined with this dreamlike quality. So you have lots of red, lots of blue, these sort of floating visuals, all kinds of filters going around. And when you, like, in between missions, you can talk to the other characters, and there's this almost like, it reminds me of Silent Hill 2 with the Heaven's Night music, like the strip club visuals with these neon lights and everything. And this sort of weird music playing in the background. It's very compelling. And it also has interesting ideas in terms of the gameplay as well. So there's, for example, from the Forbidden Siren games, there's this mechanic where you can kind of look through the eyes of enemies. You have to track enemies in the maps when you're playing the missions, and you kind of have to find them. So you can look through the eyes of the enemies. And it has these strange ideas, which is one of the reasons why I enjoy playing these sort of AA games, or maybe even 1A games, because they always have weird ideas. They aren't necessarily executed well, as in here. So many of them aren't executed well at all. But they are interesting and weird and different from other games. So I do appreciate some parts of it. Now, the actual structure of the game is this mission-based structure. So you have a map, and there's also kind of like time travel stuff going on. I don't want to talk much about the storyline other than to say that it's really dumb. The storyline seems interesting at first, but it turns into one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in a video game, especially by the end, when you are explicitly told what is going on. Like, who is this weird spirit character that talks, and you kind of use to jump up, like, from one character to another. So it's one of these strange ideas in this game where you don't really control the characters, you control a spirit that possesses characters. So you can jump between different characters, and basically all of the civilians in the levels and everything, you can just like possess them and start playing as them. It's an interesting idea. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The civilian characters are really weak and kind of useless most of the time. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, the spirit character, this backstory for that character is so dumb. It's so annoying. I wish they would have kept it secret, kind of like left it open-ended, what is really going on, and left clues about it or something. But they explicitly tell you what is going on, and it's just bad writing. It's awful. Like, they have to justify this sort of time travel sci-fi stuff that's going on in the game, and the explanation for that is just dumb, to put it bluntly. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about Slitherhead. There are really awful chase sequences, like all over the missions. You have to run. It's like the LA Noire chase missions, where you're just constantly forced to run and try to catch these, like in this game, monsters in LA Noire, criminals. It's annoying. Yeah, or like Yakuza, the chase sequences in Yakuza, kind of like that. That's just bad. The worst parts of the game. Yeah. Ah, what else? Slitterhead. There are lots of collectible items. Trying to find them in the maps is awful because they are just hidden in corners, like in different parts of the maps. Some of the maps are quite open-ended, so you have this sort of city area. It's like a Hong Kong or China looking city that you are in. I can't remember the exact city. I guess they name it in the game. But yeah, you have sometimes have this sort of like a more of an open-ended area that you can explore, and like the collectibles are just hidden in random corners and random rooftops, and it's really annoying to try and find them. Yeah. Some things that I do enjoy also about this game, just to end on a positive note, is that the some of the final boss fights in the game are quite impressive. I enjoyed those a lot, especially the one with against like the blonde guy, what is it called, like Yu Yin or something. I thought that boss fight was really fun. I wish that was the final boss fight because the game just keeps going after that. But yeah, it does have some interesting ideas, interesting mechanics. It just doesn't work most of the time. It looks awful, and the combat is so bad, and there's so much of it. It's really bad. So I would give Slitterhead like a cautious 5 out of 10 at best. I cannot give it a higher score than 5 out of 10, unfortunately. Right, and then to end, I've already rambled on too long about these games, but to end, I'll talk a little bit about the funeral of Madden 22 because I've been meaning to include this in a video for a long time, and now people are wondering. The couple of people who are still watching are wondering, why are you talking about the Madden game from like 5 years ago or 4 years ago? Well, because this is the most recent Madden game that I've played, and I retired it. I deleted the installation for the game from my PS5, and I don't play it anymore because I got the notorious save file corrupt bug and lost my save file. So that's that for me, for Madden, for a while, I guess. They've had this bug in the game for years now. I think like this one and also like 23, at least both of those have it. I don't know if the newer ones do, but at some point in a game, the game just decides that your save file is corrupt and you cannot even load it anymore. I had a franchise mode in this game that I had been playing for over 20 seasons. I had a great team. I had won like 9 Super Bowls. Just legendary players, Hall of Fame players all across the board on my roster. And it's all gone. So I want to end on a sad note. It's the funeral of Madden 22. I'm laying it to rest. And I don't have a sports game at the moment that I would play, because I like playing sports games while I'm listening to podcasts. I don't have one currently. I should probably buy like the college football reboot game, because I've never got into college football, like American football. I like American football a lot. I've been following this for like 20 years at this point. So yeah, it just saddens me. Like EA Sports, Madden, NHL, all these franchises, they are just awful. Like these games now, they are so buggy and just complete messes. And they're just releasing them every year, and they are just like barely improved from one year to another. It's just sad. It's disgusting. I wish EA would lose the exclusive rights to some of this stuff and competitors could start making these games again, because without competition, like EA Sports is just awful. So yeah, that's the funeral of Madden 22. I like the game quite a bit, to be honest. Like it has flaws. It has so many bugs in it. And like even the simulation, it just doesn't make sense most of the time. The results that you get, and there are other game-breaking bugs as well that I managed to avoid, fortunately. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it. I'll stop rambling about these games again. So Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, that's good. Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, not so much, but it's an interesting release. Once Upon a Katamari, just a fine entry into the Katamari series. Valhalla, big disappointment, especially considering how highly regarded that game is as a visual novel. Slitterhead, I've no idea why people like that game as much as they do. It is going to become a cult classic, Slitterhead, and I'm really glad that I got it now, so that I don't have to pay a bunch of money for it later on. And then Madden 22, sad Viking funeral music. It's gone. I have to retire it. I'm not going to start a new franchise mode from nothing in that game. So yeah, there you go. I'll be back again next week for something else, most likely movies I watched. So yeah, thanks for watching and bye.